Hey guys, and welcome back, and today is the Synology Q&A with the guys at Synology UK. They were kind enough to give me their time and go through some of your most popular questions, put straight to them and get the answers straight out the horse's mouth. Now, straight off the bat, it's worth mentioning that the room that this was recorded in had an exceptionally high ceiling and a glass wall, so there was all kind of sound barriers. So I do apologise if the sound quality does dip at times. I cleaned it up as best I could, and also know that the majority of these questions have directly come from YouTube questions. There's been a couple from NAS Compares, but almost all of these questions have come from you guys. Now, I'm hoping to do this again in about 3 months' time after the Synology launch events that are coming very, very soon. So if you do have any further questions, do put them in the bottom in the comments. I'm going to post this video on both YouTube channels so we've got the whole thing out there and get as many things answered as possible. Now, again, just before the video starts, it's worth mentioning at the end of August we will be covering the Synology Taiwanese launch event remotely, along with other separate launch events in Germany, UK, and a few others after that. So if you are interested in knowing about the new and upcoming things for Synology, do subscribe and stay tuned and click the bell to be more notified about those. And of course, this will be talked about here on YouTube and NAS Compares, and of course at span.com. So do visit all of those sites. But otherwise, let's get straight into this with the Synology Q&A with Jeremy and Finn at Synology UK. Let's go. Right, so here we are with Finn and Jeremy. We're going to get your questions out there in the open, so I'm not going to waste any of your time or mine. Let's get straight to the top questions. Here they are. So, question one, let's talk about Synology Hybrid RAID. Now, it's super popular. It's one of those things that a lot of people have purchased your NASs for because that great scalable system. So a lot of people have asked me, why is it only available in some of the mid to low tier NASs and not really on the XS or the big ones? Why is that? Why is there no Synology Hybrid RAID on more enterprise level devices?
So it really comes down to why we developed Synology Hybrid RAID in the first place. It was really designed for, let's say, non-techie users, people who needed a NAS. They wanted to, run their own Synology, but they didn't really understand RAID. They didn't want to understand RAID. So it was really simplifying the management of the storage, also being able to mix hard drives of different sizes. Now, when you're looking at the high-end XS, SA range, it's not something that's really that much in demand. We actually very rarely get requests around being able to do that. It's actually the opposite.
Oh,
SHR is really designed to be very simple, but it doesn't give you that much configurability. You can't do that much, whereas with the traditional RAIDs, you have all the advanced options, and that's what those.
So there's no real plans to pull that over in the future?
I don't think it's something that's really that much in demand, so I don't think we'll be seeing it.
Okay. Well, that was nice and simple. There you go. That's about 50 of your questions in the last few days taken care of. Right, straight on to question number two. Now, about a month and a half ago, I was talking about something I kind of half stumbled across, the fact that you guys loan out NAS. It's fully populated, the Flash Station series, to really kind of show people this is what you're getting. They'll sort of stand behind that reputation. But then I noticed that it wasn't really something that was scaled down to the Rack Station series, and a lot of people ask about a kind of try before you buy system. So is that something you guys are ever going to look at?
Yeah, so we do actually have a test and buy program in place for both our desktops and Rack Stations themselves.
Oh, wow.
But we focus on promoting the Flash Station test and buy range because SSDs are such an expensive solution. Flash array costs a lot of money. We want those businesses to be able to test the units themselves first before committing to making the purchase. So, for example, we've worked closely with universities. They'll be in their grant stage, so before they actually get the funding, they need to test these Flash Stations because they're so expensive, and they need to convince basically their board that this is a good investment. So basically, we focus on the Flash Stations at the moment because it's essential before making the purchase. But yeah, we are moving to promoting the desktop and Rack Station test and buy as well.
Oh, wow.
So it will help out small businesses who've never touched a NAS before,
and
never heard of Synology as well. So
if someone wanted to do that now, do they just reach out to you guys directly on that?
Yeah, we've recently been getting inquiries on the sales team, where we just ask people, what NAS are you looking for, how much storage do you need? They give us all this information like what file sizes, etc. And then we select the specific units, send out to them, and we populate it as well, and they just give us feedback and hopefully purchase it. So we've worked closely with a couple of people and it's gone well. So
it's quite cool. Yeah, it's just nice to see that dynamic, because when I put that video out there, I think there was also an article on the blog it got a lot of interest, and you'd think there would obviously be the percentage of people going, free. But there was a lot of people that were just on the verge, just sitting on the fence. So I think that very compelling point to see if that logic will be extended further, and apparently already is.
Yeah.
There you go. That was a question that answered itself. So we've moved on to question 3. Now, for those that have been following both YouTube and the blog, and indeed spam.com for a while, you may have noticed a huge spike in the amount of content surrounding the DVA 3219. That graphics card enabled surveillance box, and we've had to play with it in Taiwan and a few other bits and bobs. And some of the features that people counting the zonal identification marker, there's the smart recognition of different things, or the like leaves, and really, really, really impressive stuff of it being able to identify certain factors and certain objects. Is much of that logic going to be expanded towards non-GPU enabled NASs? So if I own, for example, an 1819 and I want to utilise it for surveillance, an NVR solution, how many of those features do you think would be ported over, or are they specifically powered by GPU resources?
Well, we can leverage the PCIe slot in some of our units, so we can get a PCIe graphics card to be inserted into the units. But at this moment in time, it's still a work in progress. It's still being tested by R&D. We still want to gauge the feedback on the DVA 3219 first. So we want to see what the main features are, and we could implement them in the future to our older units that can work as an NVR as well.
Because I've noticed that CPU is featured on some other devices. That's kind of the main reason people asked about it, because that would be a huge boon to be able to capitalise on that. And I remember when I first saw the device, I was like, it's kind of like a 1618, but more so. So yeah, if that's something that happens down the line, let's hope the DVA takes off the way we hope. On to the next question. Let's talk about ransomware and malware. Those are two horrible terms that unfortunately have just become very, very recurrent in the news recently, and just generally on different platforms. Now, NAS never used to be a big target for this, but I've definitely seen in 2019 suddenly a shift towards, with the growth of NAS, the amount of target people, like malicious people, that have been targeting these platforms. So, in short, what are Synology doing about this?
Yeah, it's again, NAS devices are being more and more popular. It's expected to see more interested from hackers. So it's not actually, it's something we've been beefing up our systems for quite a while. Obviously, the first step is making sure the system is safe, building on the latest kernel of Linux, making sure that all the a user, when they're setting up the system, have all the key aspects. A few examples: IP auto block, certificates, encryption. So again, making sure that they have all the tools to keep things safe. Now, obviously, some users aren't that potentially technical or might overview things.
Savvy,
So I don't know if you remember back in, I think it was 2015, we added something called the Security Advisor. It's like a kind of a scanner, scans the entire system, and it points out anything that's a potential weakness, network setting. That's
it was semi-autonomous as well. It kind of said you need to do this, just click go, and it would let you do it.
Exactly. I think that's a very important addition to make sure that the user hasn't overlooked anything. Then obviously you need to kind of work a little bit more upstream. Now there's multiple ways of doing that. You kind of want to make sure also that the operating system again is up to date. Sometimes we fix vulnerabilities. If the user hasn't done that, that can be a bit of an issue. So we notify. There's the e-news. There's the internal notifications on the system. If a user wants to use our Quick Connect or through DDNS service, fine, free to use. Stay on a safe version of DSM.
Of course.
So again, those are things that we've implemented a while back, but again, we're keeping them. We're making sure that obviously pushing out these patches that I just mentioned. So we have a team within HQ which is dedicated to handling this. It's the PSIR team. It's we call it Security Incident Response Team. What is their role? So it's anything around security, making sure that when there is a vulnerability which is identified, that it's all the information, what users need to do, what steps they need to follow, making sure that we're liaising with the right type of people to get it solved if it requires third-party intervention, and obviously I mentioned getting the patches out, so they have a goal of getting a patch available within 24 hours. So
I was going to say, and then of course you've obviously got the standard practices people should be doing in the background for normal snapshots and RAID and stuff like that, and not just rely on the safety net. And I think that's a large point when people buy NASs. They kind of go, oh, my data's in a NAS. It's fine now, I'm going off. and they really don't think about the maintenance of it. You guys are giving them a lot of tools to do that. So no, that's really good. You've got a whole department in the background running there. I didn't know about that at all.
Call it security incident response team. Now, in addition to that, you also want to take into account, like there's always going to be hackers out there. You need to kind of preempt that if possible. So I think it was 2017 we were accepted as part of the MITRE. It's basically the organisation which handles the CVEs, the CNAs. Like that's when a vulnerability is identified. So even before it's kind of published, because Synology are part of this, we can kind of
notify
work
it,
on it before. That's very important. So that's kind of a commitment to making sure the entire platform has got the resources and the right channels to solve these issues. And I'll just finish with one last aspect is obviously if we find out about a
vulnerability,
being part of MITRE is great, but what's even better is if the hacker tells us. And
so the bounty system, I remember,
not to be ignored. It's actually really it is useful. Definitely keeping that. So I think we've covered like all the main aspects of. Again, we want to make sure that customers trust the DSM as a solid platform, a safe platform. That's really our strategy on how to.
You guys have always been a particularly software-focused company, and I quite like. And again, maybe I should make an entire video just based on the myriad of these different resources, particularly the bounty system. I might have to pen that in, pop that up there. Okay, well, I'll be honest, I don't think I could get more of you out of that one. Let's go on to the next question. Now, this one I would say is up there, although these questions are not in any actual order with regards to popularity. This question, in one form or another, gets asked a lot. It's to do with CPUs. You guys have you've got a lot of in the DiskStation models. You've got a lot of those Celeron CPUs. You've also got the Devaton or the Atom, depending on what people are talking about. And a lot of users are finding that those have kind of gone as far as they can go for their point of view. So, is there any plans for newer gen CPUs than those in the near future?
So we have nothing on against bringing new CPUs on the ARM range. So we introduced the
Realtek 64,
very good, very good one. We also consider obviously developing our software, as you've mentioned. It's something like we're really strong on. Also, third-party developers. Now, when you bring in a new platform, it means porting the package, testing. Another platform for the engineers is always an extra thing to support. So what we also look at is, in a way, platform stability. And we try to not introduce new platforms when we don't necessarily need it for performance reasons. So really that aspect of platform stability, very important for businesses. Sometimes you'd rather have, a nice stable platform and not have like the latest features coming out too frequently. That's really also what we have in mind before we bring in new platforms when there's something very important when we need to. But in the case of the two you mentioned, C3000, J3000, it hasn't been, how can I put it? From our perspective, again, we're very software oriented. We obviously develop most of our software for our own hardware, and often we can get excellent performance.
You do get quite a lot out of them, and you've got more, particularly I would say, out of the J3455, that Celeron CPU, than any other NAS brand at the moment. I've got to give you that. You weren't the first to adopt that CPU, but you've definitely got the most out of it more than any other. Another key question that I get quite a lot, and this is definitely from first-time NAS buyers where their budget is quite scaled. They talk about warranty. Now, I've been in this industry for a while, and one of the first things I noticed was the disparity between the warranties. Now, I understand the reason for it, but a lot of other users don't. So why is it, for example, the J series and the standard series have got 2 years of Synology-backed warranty, and then you've got the standard plus series, which has got 3, and then you've got XS that's got 5 years. There's a large scale of warranties there. And what's the reason for that?
So the reasoning behind this is dependent on the user themselves. So for our XS Plus series, for instance, that is 5-year warranty, majority of them. That's because businesses, they'll be constantly using this unit, they'll be constantly powered on, performing the backup tasks, performing the other tasks, and they need that peace of mind that it will be covered for 5 years. They just want to be sure that they have the hardware support in case of any failure. So they need this lengthy period. And in terms of the 3-year warranties, for example, you can also get an extended warranty, so you can further the length of which you are covered for. So it's basically what the user requires.
It's quite interesting because like it does scale the price quite well for a number of users that want to buy something and they've got a certain amount of money and they want 5 years of warranty. It's quite not dissimilar to when a lot of people buy Pro Series drives that are 5 years of warranty, even though they've got like 2 drives. Some people want that option, some don't, and the ability to choose is quite important.
Yeah, so they have the flexibility and the warranty is somewhat put into the price, so they have that option. But on a side note, in terms of our software itself, that can be supported for many years. So, for example, our DS411, that unit was released in about 2011, so it's about 8 or 9 years old now, nearly. That's still supported by our DSM. So, even though hardware support may be discontinued after the warranty, it can still be supported by our software. So that's a great plus.
So even someone that owns a 411 can still contact Synology if there's software issues, as long as they're up to date and they use the latest DSM. So that's quite good. A lot of people don't know that, and that's another thing I should probably talk about more on the channel, which I will address in future. Let's talk about licenses. Over the, we've seen Synology and DSM become, frankly, a tour de force in the NAS world. We've seen that software get bigger and better and win all these lovely awards like we've seen here. But at the same time, there has been a few more licenses being introduced in places. And a lot of people, when they buy a NAS, they're wondering about this trend into this form of license packs within DSM. Is that something that we're going to see more of, or a kind of development on that? Where's that going?
So in terms of our software, in our package center we have over 130 packages, I believe, and only 4 or 5 require licenses, really. So majority of our software is free itself, doesn't require licenses. But the packages that do require licenses, there's a sense of flexibility. So in terms of surveillance station, you get 2 free IP cameras, 4 if it's an MDR unit. So there's flexibility there for the home users. And for Presta as well, there's a 30-day free trial. So there's flexibility there. In terms of other software that requires licenses, such as like virtualization, this requires a lot of engineering resources to develop. So the businesses that actually use this software themselves, they're essentially reinvesting back into the software by purchasing these licenses. They're putting the money back into it so it can be developed further. So the businesses that use the software itself, they're essentially paying for the development of the further.
Well, no, I mentioned the DVA earlier in this recording, and DVA, I might be wrong, I think it comes with 8 licenses, because that's obviously a targeted unit, and I was quite surprised that that's also supporting DSM as well as surveillance station. So I can definitely see that going now. I mean, a lot of users were just wondering about that, because I think sometimes it's not very clear. I don't help with that sometimes, but the clarity towards licenses over time. So thanks for that.
Another note I was going to say is that rather than pass the cost into the hardware itself, it makes it really cheaper available, like to the home users, for instance, who won't require these licenses. Their hardware will be cheaper.
And it makes it quite scalable as well, and I think that's the key word here, scalability. Actually, that leads me, let's go with the word scalability. Let's talk about scalability. Probably, I would say, the second most regularly asked question on this list of questions today, memory. Because so many users want that they have traditional mindsets towards computing and stuff like that, and they go on, max out the memory. You bought a laptop, max out the memory. I've bought a new games console, what's the memory? And with Synology, a lot of the time what we see is, for example, in the 2 bays, we see memory limits there of 6 gigabytes even, there we go. And we sometimes see, let's say on the DS 918 Plus and the 1019 Plus, limitations of 8 gig. Despite this, we have seen people playing around with, myself included, 16 gig in some models. And you guys don't support that, and I think there is an area of contention there. So what is the Synology policy on memory, unbranded and Synology's own?
So
this is a big
supports Synology memory in Synology units. Now, obviously, I think we really need to explain the reason behind that. If you take, for instance, our goal is to give as much flexibility and choice to our users as possible. So hard drives, 10 gig cards. Again, it's a third party list. 10 gig cards, you actually have Synology or third party. So when we can, we give the choice. On memory, we've made a different decision, and I think that's what we need to explain why. So if you go back, I think 7-8 years ago, we actually didn't have our own memory. You put in third party.
Like Crucial at Kingston and stuff like
that. Exactly. Now, we actually moved away from that for a very specific reason. we were seeing cases where it was creating system instability, volume crashes, even potentially just like slow performance, meaning it was very difficult to troubleshoot. And again, it was memory is a key part of the system, and if it's not really top notch in terms of quality, then you can have that type of instability. And when it's instability that puts the data at risk, that's where we think, again, I can understand it's not always a popular route to go down, but that's the reason behind insisting on its Synology memory again. So we test it when we bring out a new model. Again, it means we can guarantee the warranty that we were talking about, up to 5 years. So kind of that's the reason behind this not having an open policy on memory.
It makes sense. I mean, if it is an internal component and you do talk about stability, I think this will always be a point that will continue, and hopefully one day, one way or another, this will be put to bed. But it's quite an ongoing thing.
I completely understand, because again, different brands have got different approaches on that. Synology isn't the only storage manufacturer to go down that route, but I just wanted to again give a bit of explanation why we've made that decision.
Right, on to a very popular question. One that I would say, a particular product that earlier this year nearly broke my blog, and I'm not bitter, I'm just disappointed. The E10, I believe, E10 M20, you've got a PCIe card I saw in the works, I hope it still is, a PCIe card that has NVMe SSD bays and 10 gigabit Ethernet on one card, something people have requested for a long time. I've not heard much about this card since that event. I've mentioned it once or twice on the channel because people keep asking, is this card still in development? Is it still going to come?
Yeah, so this card is still being fine-tuned in our HQ in Taiwan. So you can expect it later this year, but we just want to reassure you that it's still in development.
And I assume in most cases, if you have a Synology NAS that has a PCIe card, chances are this is going to be supported on those platforms.
Yeah.
Excellent, because I think a lot of people are waiting on that with their budgets, and they're thinking it would be great to have this upgrade. But yeah, fantastic. It's just good to know that card's still incoming.
Yeah.
Perfect. And do you know what? We're going to talk about new and up and coming. And this is the most asked question. I mean, I'm not even going to look at my notes, to be perfectly honest. DSM-7. Where is it? When's it coming? Is there a beta? And this will, I'll be honest, my website's hanging by a thread. DSM-7, are we looking at that, the beta this year? Or?
You can find out more about it in our launch event on the 19th of September.
Oh, but that was beautiful. Yeah. What a tease.
But in a more serious note, previously with our DSM updates, all of our packages got updated all in one hit. So, but now it's more modular, so each package will get updated individually. So for example, active backup for Office 365, that now supports SharePoint backup as well. So in some packages they get updated separately from the DSM. But you can find out more about it at our launch event, as I said. So yeah.
I'd say I remember with the Synology client, the Drive client, that kind of file on demand stuff you did there, and I think there's also some other stuff with Drive with regards to certain virtual platform synchronization. So again, one of the things I kind of thought that would be the case, given that a number of those beta features have suddenly popped up, some of which being made concrete. And again, slightly off questions, to be perfectly honest, just while it occurs to me, the file streaming part of the Drive application, will we be seeing that functionality on Mac, do you think, or is that still unknown at this time? Because I think
the streaming part. Now, I think the honest answer is I don't know. We need to speak to the engineers, but if it's possible, if it's actually possible, yes. It's just I believe that actually we were invited for that file streaming part by Microsoft to join there.
Of course,
like the companies that could implement it first. So it's a case of Microsoft first. If it's possible on other platforms, we'd like to keep.
Absolutely. It was only because I remember that was a growing question. I think at the time of this recording, it probably should have made it into the top 10. And you know what? I've got one final question, largely because for all of the stuff that I do on YouTube and NAS Business Bang, there's no denying that Synology has a very big business profile. But for those that are coming into this area of private cloud storage and coming off things like Dropbox and Google Drive, which they've been on for years and they've looked at thousands of pounds that have kind of disappeared in smoke, why should a business user in 2019 and 20 pick Synology?
So I think where we've really set ourselves apart, especially for business users, and that's just feedback we get, is first, the innovation on the software side. Let's be honest, a NAS, if you look at the specs, it's not that incredible, but it's really the value that comes with it is all the software. I mean, you can run, your own like a file synchronizing system with CloudStation, now Synology Drive, a mail server. So really, the innovation is quite strong. I'd really highlight a few things in recent updates. So active backup.
Of course, that whole package, really, yeah.
Yeah, being able, for businesses, that's really key to be able to protect anything from a PC, virtual machines, your servers, even Office 365 G Suite, and pretty much transform your Synology into a backup appliance. That's really key. So I think that's a good example of innovation. And also, innovation to also allow to, how can I put it, produce or provide an all-in-one solution, very tightly integrated. That's very important for businesses. So to give the example of active backup, we also have Synology C2 Cloud. I think we're the only NAS manufacturer
absolutely. We do have an upcoming video on that at the moment. Yeah, sorry, a lot of you have asked for that as well. That's incoming.
It's quite. I think it's really quite exciting, and we're seeing again lots of popularity with businesses because your Synology is a backup appliance. You protect anything in your business, and then you replicate it to a cloud, but all provided by Synology. Means that if you have any problems on setup, or again you need to speak to our support team, you only have one support team. If you're backing up to another third party, that's where if you have trouble, if you need help, two support teams is never good. So again, innovation and really providing tightly integrated solution.
I mean, a lot of that integration I've talked about on other channels, on other videos, I should say, when this idea of trying to target each of the individual apps, because in most businesses, and I can definitely speak for some of the clients I've spoke with as well as Span themselves, there's a number of third-party software you end up using to integrate with your servers. Yeah. I mean, and that's something the likes of HP and even NetApp and then some of these big providers, service providers and hardware providers don't have. So things like Synology Chat and Office and Drive and stuff like that, and the way Drive has evolved as well. So you're saying that people should go for a Synology NAS for business because it's an all-in-one solution, really, and it will effectively save money and time and integrate.
That is a key thing. Sometimes businesses just need simplicity. Now, just we kind of mentioned the memory. I just want to highlight we're not looking at locking people into only our software. We will still have third-party developers can develop for our platform. We encourage it, but we really want to give the choice. It's if you need something that's kind of all-in-one, done by Synology, the option is there, and there's third-party as well if you need.
Perfect. Okay, well, I think we've covered a lot. I hope you've enjoyed the Q&A, everyone. There hopefully will be another one later this year. And again, do stay tuned for the Synology UK launch event later in September. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you've got any further questions or comments about today's video, of course, bung it below. And if you want to learn more about some of the new up-and-coming stuff that's going to come later this year from Synology, click the little bell icon to be notified. But otherwise, cheerio, and don't forget to click like and subscribe. Bye-bye.